Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
What's up? It's Sierra, new member and ambassador for WW Weight Watchers Reimagined. Since joining, I feel healthier and more confident than ever. The new My WW Plus, our most holistic program ever, gives you more of what you need to lose weight, like tools to help boost your mindset, get you moving, and plan meals based on what you have on hand. Plus, over 300 zero-point foods you don't have to track. The new My WW Plus, more holistic, more personalized, more weight loss.
Join today with a limited time offer at WW.com.
It's Wild Card Weekend, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. For the first time in league history, 6 games are on the board during the opening round of the playoffs. Feature games Saturday include Indy at Buffalo and LA at Seattle. On Sunday, Chicago visits the Big Easy, while divisional rivals Cleveland and Pittsburgh square off. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as the journey to Tampa gets underway. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Welcome to Sporgy, the show that gives you half-ass sports fans giving their half-ass opinions. And now, here are your hosts.
Fancy Hack. It's week 8 already. Chris hanging out with me as JR.
Hey, everybody.
Jack's here with us.
Yep.
A brutal week for me. 1-5. My college team, it's about done. 2-0 while Miami and a couple other teams are trying to tank to get him. Tua has been wildly underperforming his expectations this year. But that's for college. That's a different conversation for a different day. But brutal week for me this week. I had CMC, Chris Godwin, guys like that on a bye. First week back for Saquon. And ouch. Just one victory this week. But I got to say, halfway through the fantasy season, I got a couple 3 and 4s. I got a couple 4 and 3s. I got a 5 and 2. I'm pleased. I'm still in it. How about you, JR?
Well, it's like I think I went 5 and 5, but all my big money leagues and leagues that I had stakes on, I won. So I didn't mind losing the freebie leagues, but I also won in Sporgy. I'm at 6 and 1 now. I took down the Destroyers.
You're the team to beat. I'm still second in points. Even though my record is 3 and 4, but yeah, you seem to be the team to beat this year in that league.
Well, my Vegas league, I was 0 and 4 with the most points scored. I still have the most points scored, but I've won 3 in a row, so I'm rallying there, which is good because that's money and it's Vegas. Got to win the Vegas league.
Well, that's in my big money league. I had as of last week, it's changed this week, but as of last week, I had the least amount of points scored, and I was in second place. Had to be sticking in a couple of guys' cross.
And my other DC money league, in that one, I was ahead by 20 points going into Monday night, and I had Nugent, the New England kicker, and my opponent had Edelman and Sony Michel. So you can imagine the agony of those 3 Sony Michel touchdowns. However, I still prevailed by 5 points.
Wow.
Squeaked it out, but that Michelle really gave me a run for my money there. But hey, I won both money leagues and I won most of my beer leagues. And I lost some games too, but they were ones with no money on the line. So all in all, a good week. I'll take it. It was a really weird week.
Yeah,
a lot of points scored, a lot of low scoring matchups, fantasy,
more injuries.
Except in one of my leagues where I topped 200 points, first team to ever do that. And I had Eckler on the bench in that league. I would have scored 225 if I had started him over Mark Andrews on the flex. I don't know. I guess I just thought with Gordon back that Eckler would be de-emphasized. And boy, that was a lesson to be learned.
In that league, I told you he's a passing back. In that league, did you start Aaron Rodgers?
I believe I did.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers.
I'm going to look it up real quick. He sure is 5 TDs. Yeah, he started off the season slow, and I'm sure some people bought low on him and are reaping the benefits. I'm sure that is the league that I started him in because I benched Wentz for him. I also made a bold move this week that paid off. I benched Wentz for Jack's favorite quarterback, Gardner Minshew, who held his own and got me 17 points versus Wentz 7 points in that Monday night stinker against the Cowboys that we don't want to talk about. But I was smart enough to put sit Wentz. My sixth sense taught me. I actually did that because I thought Minshew going against the Bengals secondary banged up. I thought he would do better than he did, but he still scored 10 points higher than Wentz. So
well, I guess let's get to the games, shall we? And talk about. I mean, we start with Thursday night whenever it wants to come up. Who played Thursday? I forget. Whoa. No, I don't. Because, huge implications after Thursday. Mahomes.
Oh, yeah.
For at least 3 weeks. At least.
Brutal for anybody that has him.
Yeah, if you're one of those... sorry, I hate to say this. If you're one of those fools who took a quarterback early, you jumped in the third or fourth round and took Mahomes. This one hurts.
Sure does. But we warned everybody at the beginning of the season before the draft in our first episode, don't take that quarterback too early. You can get a good quarterback in the 10th, 11th round. Speaking of quarterbacks, what about Matty Ice is on the ice right now?
Yeah. Figured we'd get to that, but Matty Ice.
Yeah, we can get to that, but just.
I'm in the fun situation of he's my quarterback in one league. My backup quarterback is Dak Prescott. So this week will be fun for me in that league because Cowboys are on a bye.
So let's talk about that Chiefs-Broncos game. It was a blowout for the Chiefs, to be expected, but I don't know if this is going to affect Tyreek Hill. I don't know how it's going to affect the running game. It can't be good. It just can't be good if you have stake in these Chiefs. Well, I started Damian Williams, and I think I got a 0 for him. So he's one of those guys on notice, on the chopping block.
Well, it seemed to work out well for Cheetah, for at least for the rest of the game. His 56-yard touchdown. The rumor keeps being that this is going to work out a little better for LaShawn McCoy.
Yep.
We'll see, is what I'll tell you on that one, because this is the Chiefs' backfield. So who knows? But
I'm pretty close to cutting Damian Williams after I started him and got a 0 and just he only got 9 carries and 3 targets.
Well, I do not own him. I have heard enough on him to go. If I did have him, I would have dropped him by now. It sounds like there's been a lot of wait and see with that guy, and season's half over at this point. Time to wait and see is running out.
Well, and on the other side of the ball, let's talk about the Broncos. Big trade today. Emmanuel Sanders shipped off to the 49ers. So Sanders goes from one inept passing game to another. I shouldn't say an inept passing game in 49ers, but they're clearly a running team. I think they're in the bottom 5 or 6 in the league in passing.
Well, let's be fair to Jimmy G. He's had a pile of scrubs to throw to. The San Francisco passing game hasn't existed because there really hasn't been anyone to throw it to. This gives him a target, so this could help to have San Francisco lock that division up. And if you have Emmanuel Sanders, it raises his value a lot.
And we still got probably the only Broncos you even want to even think about starting is Lindsey or Freeman, and the fact that we're mentioning 2 names isn't good either. Freeman's getting a little bit more snaps. So it's kind of a train wreck in Denver, and you probably don't want anything to do with it. Courtland Sutton might be a good play, though. He's now the number 1 receiver, clearly.
It's another. His value has also risen now too. He is the number 1 guy in Denver now, unless there's a trade coming we don't know about.
And you got Deshaun Hamilton moving into the number 2 role, so there may be an uptick for him. Shameless plug for one of my Penn Staters there. All right, let's move on to the Texans and the Colts. After the big upset of the Chiefs, the Texans dropped a game to the Colts 30-23. Deshaun Watson had a tough day under pressure. That Indianapolis defense is a little underrated.
Yes, they are.
Duke Johnson continues to do next to nothing. He's kind of dead to me. Will Fuller is hurt now after those big games he had. And DeAndre Hopkins finally comes to life and gets his 100 yards. Maybe that's because Fuller's hurt. Apparently Hopkins and Fuller were really connecting, and I don't know, maybe Hopkins was just always getting double teamed and shadowed. But it was nice to see him get a big day, because I know when I drafted him, I was expecting, a routine 100-yard game every week, and he finally got one.
So was everyone. He was the top receiver going in the draft.
Yeah, so that's kind of a head scratcher, but good to see him produce, and that's why I finally won in that one money league, because I've been counting on him every week, and he's been failing me. Meanwhile, the Colts really don't have much of a fantasy. You got T.Y. Hilton. I don't know how many people have Jacoby Brissett, and he's serviceable, but certainly not a marquee quarterback. Marlon Mack's usually pretty impressive, but
that's it. You've said any Colt worth owning. You've said the three names.
Much. And it's just puzzling, because they have a good team, but not really too many fantasy studs other than Hilton and Mack, and an occasional tight end. But then you got Ebron and who's the other tight end? What's his name?
Jack Doyle.
Jack Doyle, yep. So even the tight ends are like, which one's going to perform on any given week?
Ebron, if you're in a position like I am in a league or two where you just need a tight end. I mean,
like a bye week replacement or something.
Yeah, like he's a desperation ad.
All right, moving on to the Vikings and the Lions. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Oh yeah, this one just how I thought it was going to. Minnesota. Hold on, this site here is just taking its time firing things up for me. But Kerryon Johnson. See ya.
If you need any stats, you can always ask Jack.
That's true. I'm just trying to get this whole I've been trying to get RotoWire to come up for like the last 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mine's working, but it's on the article ID 47796. Anyway, two big injuries in that Vikings-Lions game. Number one, Kerryon Johnson, placed on IR today, pretty much ends his season. What a disappointment that is. And number two, Adam Thielen caught a touchdown pass, and that was it. That was all she wrote for him. He was out of the game with a hamstring injury. I heard today that he's going to try to play this week, but I think that would be a reach. But who knows?
The difference between Thielen and Johnson is, Thielen will be back. Kerryon Johnson will not be. So, that hurts me on a couple leagues, because he's one of my locked-in starting running backs, which is going to hurt.
So what do we got? Who's going to replace him? Who's the youngster that's coming in? Isn't there a rookie that's going to be taking his spot?
I believe in the emails I've seen,
Ty.
Yep, Ty Johnson.
Ty Johnson. So, next man up. I mean, what they say in fantasy is go for the volume. Somebody's got to carry the rock there. But Johnson wasn't lighting it up with 100-yard games either, so Detroit usually is more of a passing attack.
Yeah, a quiet game for Kenny Golladay. Stafford had a good game fantasy-wise. No, go ahead.
This just looks like this game. I took a look at it, and I took a look at the final score. I'm like, the Vikings started out like they were dead. Everybody was ripping on Cousins, and now the last 2 weeks, Cousins looks like a Hall of Famer. And the Lions started out like world beaters, and now they're kind of falling back to earth. It looks like two teams headed in different directions.
Yeah, this Viking offense is starting to look how I thought it was supposed to look when they brought in Kirk Cousins. Dalvin Cook just being Dalvin Cook.
Diggs is coming alive now. It's not just the Adam Thielen show. Another good big game for him after a slow start. So maybe it just took the Vikings a little while to wake up, but they're definitely awake now. And the Lions are just continue to get some bad luck.
Lions are the Lions.
Marvin Jones, 4 touchdowns?
That's true. Forgetting about that.
I wonder how many benches he was on.
Many.
I predict a lot.
Because it's Marvin Jones.
And now people will start him this week, and he'll get like 3 catches for 30 yards.
I got him in a daily fantasy lineup. I'm not going to lie.
All right, let's move on to the Packers and the Raiders. This is the Aaron Rodgers show.
Yes. Welcome back, number 12.
Man, I don't know how he continues to do it, even with Devontae Adams being out. He has like we were talking about some of these teams that have a cast of idiots as receivers, but Rodgers seems to find a way to get it done no matter who his receivers are.
It's very Tom Brady-esque of him this year. Give me a receiver, doesn't matter, I'll get him the ball.
Seems to work out. A lot of no-name receivers making plays for him. I think the one highlight is for the Raiders, Darren Waller had a nice day. I think a couple touchdowns, a lot of yards.
That's what he does.
Jack, what was Waller's snaps, Jack? What were his stats on the day?
8 targets, 7 receptions, 126 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns, and he also caught a 40-yard bomb.
Nice. Very nice for tight end production. In a year where tight ends are kind of letting us down, even Travis Kelce's been pretty quiet, and certainly with the loss of Mahomes, it's not going to get any better for him. Zach Ertz has been invisible in games. But Waller's been a nice surprise, and I picked him up in a bunch of leagues, and he's been solid. Josh Jacobs, pretty good day. So, the Raiders had some statistics, but, Aaron Rodgers just took things to another level. So,
And any Raiders worth owning besides Tyrell Williams and Waller?
Sure, certainly Josh Jacobs, yeah. I'm struggling to find anybody beyond those three, though. Certainly don't want any part of Derek Carr.
Yeah, Derek Carr was worth having, like his rookie season. That's been about it.
Yeah, you just have to wonder at some point if they're going to pull the plug on him.
Well, they got the quarterback whisperer there, right? So I'm surprised he hasn't been collecting quarterbacks yet.
It's only a matter of time.
That's what he did in Tampa Bay.
And how about the Dolphins-Bills game? The Dolphins actually scored a few touchdowns. They actually looked like an NFL team for 3 quarters. And it was actually a pretty close game. I think it was like at the very end of the game on like a garbage time play. Desperation, the Bills scored a defensive touchdown late, very late. So it was a lot closer than that 10-point spread.
It's the one knock against Buffalo this year is they got a great defense. You need an offense. You want to go to the playoffs, Buffalo? You need an offense. Like letting Miami compete is not going to get you into the playoffs.
And I've got Devin Singletary. He only got 7 carries. He's just coming back from injury. The ageless Frank Gore got 11 carries. Who can you really even start on this team other than maybe just as a reach, Josh Allen, and even he doesn't get that many passing yards, but he usually runs for a touchdown every week.
I do think eventually you'll be able to start Devin Singletary. Just set him and forget him, but not. I don't think we're there yet. I think another week or two, let him get back into the groove of things. Work him in, work Gore out. But for now, no. Stay away from the Bills.
John Brown had a big day, but everybody has a big day against Miami. I don't expect that to be an every week occurrence. Then we move on to the Cardinals and the Giants. Cardinals actually have won, 3 games in a row, I think. Kind of amazing. Because
a 500 team out there in the desert, guys.
Well, it's not because of their defense, but the Giants aren't really putting up much of a fight these days. So take it with a grain of salt. So Kyler Murray continues to run a lot. The big surprise of this game, and Jack you can thank Jack for this. Chase Edmonds comes out of nowhere. I think David Johnson had a whole 3 snaps. I know he had a bad ankle, but I didn't know he was hardly going to play.
Yeah, he started, but he was technically the second string guy. It was weird. It was a weird situation.
And Jack pulled him on one of his picks a couple weeks ago, and I got to give him credit. In one of the leagues I'm in with him, against him, he has another team in the same league. He picked up Edmonds and started him last week. So how about that?
Did he beat you? Is that the question?
He didn't beat me, but he was in the league. I believe he won his matchup, though.
I did. Thank God, because I had Kerryon Johnson as my other one, and I also had James White. It was down to him it was down to Johnson, White, and Edmonds. So I was like, let's throw Edmonds in.
And who would have predicted that when you took a look at that lineup? You probably Edmonds had the big day and carried the other 2 to victory. So that being said, I can't think of any other Cardinals really worth playing. I think Christian Kirk's still hurt. But Edmonds is a good. He'll be a popular pickup this week for anybody leagues that he's still available. I picked him up in a couple leagues.
I think Larry Fitz is a flex play.
Yep, yeah, that's true. Forgot about him. another ageless wonder. Him and Frank Gore should be on the all Geritol team.
Yeah.
And the Giants, just a train wreck. Saquon Barkley was back, but he played a lot, but didn't have a big statistical day. One guy that's been pretty good that I didn't start this week, but I picked him up a couple weeks ago, Golden Tate. I don't think he got 100. I think he got like 80-some yards. So keep an eye on him. Might be, a third wide receiver. With all the bye weeks, if you need somebody, take a look. We might still be out there. Other than that, Daniel Jones, I don't know.
No.
If you don't know, you know, right?
Yeah. If you're desperate,
all right, then.
If you're hurting, if there's a bye week situation, maybe Danny Dimes. But
speaking of hurting, the Bengals lost the Jags 27-17. I mentioned that Minshew didn't have a huge day, but racked up 17 points, so wasn't terrible. Fournette seems like he's on fire this year. He's pretty reliable. I think he got his 100.
I want to see him play the whole season. That's been my problem with Leonard Fournette. It's about time for him to get hurt, isn't it?
No, because I am in a few leagues. What were his stats this week, Jack?
You cut out severely on my thing. I didn't hear a word you said. Like it was like.
DJ Chark. I was just saying, what were his stats this week? He's another one of your guys. He seems to be productive every week. I think he at least got a touchdown, didn't he?
This is week 7. Yep. 53 yards. Actually, no, I do not see a touchdown against the Bengals.
I think we were watching Red Zone, Jack, when he got a touchdown and it was called back.
Must have been called back, yeah.
Yeah.
It says a rushing attempt, 20 rushing yards, 4 targets, 3 receptions, 53 receiving yards.
Okay. So not a huge game, but
average.
He did have that touchdown called back. We're not going to talk about officials this week. They're just they're taking enough abuse from everybody. We won't pile on. So what about those Bengals, man? Ooh, Joe Mixon. It's like, can you really cut Joe Mixon?
No, because volume, and that's what sucks. Because I have a lot of Joe Mixon. Like he was in the teams where I got Saquon, he generally ended up being my second running back, and he throws you a bone last week in the form of a touchdown, but without that touchdown, he doesn't score more than 2 points. I believe I heard he had like 10 carries for 2 yards or something like this. Something ridiculous. But you're stuck with Joe Mixon because he is going to get the ball. That's the thing is if you let him go, you're letting go a starting running back. If you cut bait with him, if you have Joe Mixon, you are in a crappy spot with Joe Mixon.
Andy Dalton's back to his old ways with 1 touchdown and 3 picks. So he kind of got us excited at the beginning of the season for a few games, and now we know that he's back to his old self. So not much else to talk about. I don't know, Boyd maybe. I don't know if A.J. Green's any close to coming back, but it's just really hard. It must be really depressing to be a Bengals fan this year.
I think he's being traded, personally. That's just me. I think
A.J.?
I think they're going to trade him after the trade deadline. All of a sudden, his foot's going to. It's crazy. I've been traded. My foot feels better. Like how Jalen Ramsey's back. All of a sudden, healed up once he got to the. Must be something out in that water in California that healed his back up real quick.
And the Falcons' dumpster fire of a season continues to blaze. 37-10 loss at the hands of the Rams. And, of course, Matty Ice, we've already talked about, is shelved.
Oh, so, I own a lot of him this year. And he's been doing Falcons record regardless. As a fantasy quarterback, Matt Ryan has been doing just fine.
Oh, yeah. You can't blame the offense. I mean, they're always playing from behind, so they're always throwing. Devontae Freeman hasn't really done much this year as a running back. There's no running game in Atlanta. It's just the shuck and duck down there. But who knows what they're going to be without him. So that's going to be probably a blow to Julio Jones. Sanu was traded today to the Patriots. You know how the rich get richer?
Yeah, Sanu's not mad. Oh, darn, I got traded where? Oh, no. Sure, he's really broken up about it.
Oh, Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones probably looking at a drop in production there.
Yeah.
So Bummer for, I guess Hooper still scored a touchdown and had a good day. But I don't know who's the backup quarterback for Atlanta.
I forget.
Just the fact that we don't
Matt Schwab,
know.
maybe?
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Matt
What?
Schaub.
still in the
54-year-old Matt Schaub.
Oh my gosh. He was probably like, man, this has been a great gig holding this clipboard and making good bank. Now I got to go out there and get my butt kicked every play. Hooper has been, I think, one of the top tight ends in the league so far. We'll see if that holds. It might not be bad because the tight end can be a good check down. Oh, let's move to the game of the week. The 49ers 9, the Redskins nothing. In the Quagmire Soup in Washington, the rain game of all rain games.
The Mud Bowl.
Miserable weather. But, the Redskins were shut out on their own turf, and the Niners mustered 3 field goals. I think Gold missed a 4th. But a W is a W. It was ugly. And the bad news for all of us football fans is the Redskins, I believe, are playing Thursday night football this week.
Wah, wah.
So might as well just watch the World Series. I think actually that's a travel day for the World Series, so we'll be forced to watch them. But they're barely a tick above the Dolphins. That came to the last play too when they met. But the Niners, that defense, man, pick up that defense. I don't know if anybody really performed this week in that weather, but Kittle, you got to start Kittle. Keep an eye on that Tevin Coleman, Matt Breida running game. I think there's enough balls to go around for both of those guys. Certainly, I'm not benching Coleman. And for the Skins, I think Adrian Peterson actually had a pretty good day, but I heard he has an ankle sprained in 2 places and still wants to play against Minnesota, but I don't think anybody would be wise to start him.
Darius Geis is coming back. Do you think it matters? No.
Well, I have him on IR in one of my leagues, but anything I get out of him will be a bonus. Redskins are just a doormat. Chargers and the Titans. The Titans squeaked it out, 23-20. I benched Austin Eckler, and he had a pretty good day. So that was kind of a miscalculation. And where's Melvin Gordon?
Finishing up training camp.
Yeah, I think so. Now, the one good thing is Hunter Henry looked pretty good and had a good day. Didn't he have a couple touchdowns, Jack? What was Hunter Henry's stats for this week?
Let's see here. Hunter Henry, 8 targets, 6 receptions, 97 yards.
There we go.
Solid day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen's a must-start every week.
Even though he's given us 3 kind of very average.
But you got to start him. You got to start him.
He's another guy. You're not in the same crappy place you are with Joe Mixon, but you're on your way. Like, come on, Keenan. What do we do? At least Keenan Allen's given you a few decent days this year.
And then you look on the other side of the ball, Ryan Tannehill, if you're really desperate for a quarterback, he actually looked a lot better than Mariota, but he's still Ryan Tannehill. I think on the Titans, the only guy I want a piece of is Derrick Henry, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm getting out of the Delaney Walker business this week on most of my teams.
I think he's injured, isn't he? He blew his ankle out, or
that's why.
Sprained his ankle.
But yeah, he's been solid enough to not dump. I mean, he hasn't been like start material, but I mean, he's been solid enough to keep in case of emergency. But to me now, but with that ankle injury and just his performance, he's just crushed that threshold where we're done. I'm getting out of the Delaney Walker business.
Yeah, I'm getting out of the Tennessee Titans business altogether, other than Derrick Henry.
I dropped their defense this week.
All right, we're going to move on to the Ravens 30, Seahawks 16. That was kind of a surprise. Up in Seattle. Tough place to play. The Ravens come away with the win. Jackson ran wild. How many yards did Jackson have, Jack? How many rushing yards for Lamar Jackson?
Well, he had a big day. Let's see, 116 rushing yards. He fumbled twice, though. He didn't lose any of them, but he still fumbled twice. So should keep an eye on ball security for him.
He's the second best player in fantasy football behind CMC.
I'm a little worried that he's not more productive with passing, but you run for 100 yards as a quarterback, you can overlook that.
But you also know with Lamar Jackson, that's what you were getting now.
Yep.
You knew you weren't getting a gunslinger.
It's kind of like, reminds me of the old Michael Vick days.
I was just going to say, you were getting Michael Vick, you weren't getting Peyton Manning with Lamar Jackson. You kind of knew the deal.
And I'm happy to have him. I drafted him on quite a few teams. And he's been a very pleasant surprise.
Yeah, he's
Mark Ingram's been very productive. I think he had a pedestrian week this week. What were his stats, Jack?
12 rushing attempts, 46 rushing yards, and 7 receiving yards. That's it.
That's the definition of meh. But we'll give him a pass against that Seattle defense on the road. When your quarterback runs for 112 yards, I guess there's only so much running to go around. But Ingram can be solid. And Mark Andrews has been great this year. Had a real quiet day, too. He can't. And I think I have Marquise Brown inactive. So, I picked him up in quite a few leagues, but he didn't see the field last week, so see if he can make it back. He also seems like a boomer bust. Meanwhile, Russell Wilson continues to be pretty steady. He's pretty reliable, and Chris Carson, pretty steady. He could do a whole lot worse than Tyler Lockett as your wide receiver 3 or 2, maybe. Will Dissly's part of the Gone Network. I don't think I'd be starting Luke Wilson. So that's kind of where we're at with that. And then we go to the Saints 36, Bears 25. Teddy Bridgewater, man, he's done quite a job in filling in for Breeze, and Breeze is almost back. So anybody that stashed him, get ready to reap the benefits of that. Latavius Murray had a big day with Alvin Kamara out. So you see a lot of teams complaining about all the injuries. Well, the Saints, they're down to their backup quarterback. They played without Kamara. They got Murray stepped right in and had a 100-yard day. Ted Ginn had a long pass. Michael Thomas is just money in the bank. So the Saints really look like they're for real this year. They don't even have all their guys in. Imagine how they're going to be when they're at full strength.
Yeah, I think it's going to be San Francisco and New Orleans in the NFC title game.
I like New Orleans. I think that the Niners are going to come back down to earth. I think their schedule's getting a little tougher. Certainly kudos for the big start, but I want to see them beat some good teams first, some really good teams. But that would be a good matchup, the Saints and the Niners. Back in the old days when New Orleans was in the West Division. That would have been a good. Tariq Cohen, David Montgomery. You got 2 running backs, so you really don't have any there. Trey Burke.
It may be time for me to say goodbye to David Montgomery.
Yeah, man, he was really hyped at the beginning of the year. Everybody said he was the next CMC, and he just hasn't.
I would feel better about cutting David Montgomery than I would Joe Mixon.
Wow, that's a statement there.
Because Joe Mixon at least has a history. David Montgomery is a rookie. Joe Mixon at least has a history to fall back on. You at least have some fantasy seasons in the past where Joe Mixon has produced. So far, David Montgomery has been nothing but busted expectations.
I think you could argue that Allen Robinson's probably the best Bear to play in fantasy on that offense.
The only Bear. Do you really want Trubisky?
Oh,
yeah,
no. Oh, and I really don't want to even. I'll let you talk about the Eagles-Cowboys game. I can't even. That was a disgusting dumpster fire in its own.
Well, Amari Cooper's back. The Cowboys' offense is back. It's really all there is. It's all there's to say about that. I mean, Amari Cooper, Zeke Elliott, Dak Prescott. In my opinion, they're all locked in guys. If you got them.
I think Dallas hit rock bottom after that 3-game losing streak, but they certainly showed up for this one.
Mm-hmm.
And the Philadelphia Eagles hit rock bottom against the Vikings and found an even deeper abyss this week in Dallas. A lot of turmoil in the locker room. The Eagles just seem like they're falling apart at the seam.
Secondary needs help there, JR.
Oh, there's plenty of blame to go around. Nelson Aguilar has taken a lot of hits in the Philly media for not laying out for a bomb that he should have caught, or at least made an effort for. And without Deshaun Jackson, the Eagles have, that first week of the season, he was lighting it up with his long bombs, and there's no one to stretch the field now.
Mm-hmm.
But there's plenty of blame to go around. There's injuries. The secondary is a mess. everybody's complaining that all these other teams are making trades and the Eagles aren't doing anything. Well, why mortgage the future? It's not like they're one or two players away from being a contender. There are too many problems to be mortgaging the future for somebody right now. So
only
I don't know
worth owning is Carson Wentz.
No, he wasn't. Even he wasn't worth owning on Sunday night.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Jordan Howard, if you're in a deeper league.
It's hard to give up on Zach Ertz, but man, I mean, the production is just not there this year. It's just not.
Yeah, we've not heard the name Zach Ertz a million times. I mean, he is worth owning. Still, as far as tight ends go, he's still giving you at least 10 points a game, and that's really what you want out of a tight end. But still, I mean, as far as years past, this is not that Zach Ertz.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really all there is to say. We them boys, they're back. Monday night game. Let's talk about the New England Patriots defense. As far as fantasy production goes, people who the New England Patriots defense have more points, or that people who the New Patriots defense has more points in this year. Matt Ryan, Aaron Rodgers, Ezekiel Elliott, Tom Brady. Just the New England Patriots defense this year. Wow.
I would say not only that, the New England Patriots this year. Wow.
Yeah, we may finally have a contender for who's going to beat the 72 Dolphins. Is anyone finally going to match that? I mean, the Patriots team in, what was it, 08, 09? The season that was ruined by the Giants? I had my doubts a few points during that season. Like, I don't know. There's this team, there's that team. This year, it's like, nope. No, who's beating them? Who's beating this team? If the offense is, they've shown if the offense sputters, the defense is going to score for them. Like, good luck, all teams against the Patriots this year.
And you know what? Sam Darnold's a darn good quarterback, but man, they made him look like a high school player.
I heard he just got intercepted again, by the way.
Yeah, man, that was just so brutal and ugly to watch. I was just glad. I was glad that it's over. Yep, good one, Jack.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of opponents see ghosts when they play the Patriots because that is just a well-oiled machine that I know everybody is tired of seeing them in year in, year out, but you can't deny how great their greatness.
Sportsy. ChristopherMedia.net.
Look in your home. Look in your office. Look in your home office. Everywhere you turn, there's so much smart. At Capella University, we think education should be smart too. Our game-changing FlexPath format puts you in control of your master's degree, so you can learn how, when, and where you want. Smart, huh? Yeah, we think so too. So if you want to take the next step in your career, make Capella your first step. Visit capella.edu to learn more. Capella University. Don't just learn smarter.
Reinvent yourself at UCLA Extension. Explore continuing education programs to enhance and expand your skill set. Gain real-world skills taught by industry experts that you can apply immediately. Learn from anywhere and choose from a wide variety of online courses in entertainment, digital technology, business, engineering, and more. Winter quarter begins January 4th. Learn more at uclaextension.edu.
Look in your home. Look in your office. Look in your home office. Everywhere you turn, there's so much smart. At Capella University, we think education should be smart too. Our game-changing FlexPath format puts you in control of your master's degree, so you can learn how, when, and where you want. Smart, huh? Yeah, we think so too. So if you want to take the next step in your career, make Capella your first step. Visit capella.edu to learn more. Capella University. Don't just learn smarter.
There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Maspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Maspeth. And always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Sportsy.
All right, well, let's go to some waiver stuff. Jack, are you going to take it away? You have some stuff for us tonight?
And we also got the MVP lineup
it's
all week.
It's time for the perfect lineup, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So at quarterback, who else? Aaron Rodgers. What a day. Let's see, 429 yards on 25 completions, 5 touchdowns, 2 40-yard-plus completions. He threw a bomb for a touchdown, and he also got a rushing TD. So that's 6 total touchdowns. An absolute monster day. Then in terms of running backs, we got Chase Edmonds. After David Johnson went down, he just... he took the lead and he blemished in it. 126 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, and he had also on 2 receptions, 24 receiving yards. So a great day for him. Then on our running back 2, Latavius Murray. He had a good day, 119 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and 31 receiving yards. That's a very solid day for anybody that haven't owned him. And then from the Detroit Lions, Marvin Jones Jr. He was just torching. I think he had 3 of his 4 receiving touchdowns within the first half. That was only on 10 receptions. He had 93 yards. Just a great day from him. Exceptional production for a guy that I'm sure was sitting on many people's benches, and they were just upset watching that game, knowing that they didn't start him in their lineup. Then we have a guy that has burst onto the scene. Nobody saw this coming, and we will see him in my waiver picks as Zach Pascal, who came out of nowhere, 106 yards and 2 touchdowns. Solid day for him. I doubt anybody started him, but on my notes it says that Paris Campbell opened the door, as Paris Campbell was the wide receiver too, but he was injured, and Pascal may have proven that he belongs in that spot now, so we shall see what happens there. And then our tight end spot, Darren Waller, solid day in Green Bay, 126 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns, and he did have a bomb caught, 40-plus yard reception, so good production there, tight end. Our kicker, Brett Maher, it just comes down to who scores a lot. What did he have? He had that big 62-yard field goal. He had 2 field goals that were like 20-yarders, and he had 4 point-afters made. And then a repeat from last week, New England defense. Let's listen to this. Sack, 4 picks, 2 fumble recoveries, a safety, 69 return yards, 4 down stops, 4 3-and-outs, and they allowed no points. It's pretty insane. I actually started them. They got me 89 points, one of my leagues. So I just want to thank them for the win. That was very good. So we'll branch right into my waiver wire. So last week we had Jamal Williams, 3 rushes, 5 rushing yards, and he caught 405 passes for 26 receiving yards, and he did have a receiving touchdown. So it seems like in Green Bay, they're just, Aaron Jones will go off, and then, Jamal Williams will have a good day. So Jones did get more touches in this game. Just it's kind of you're just a crapshoot at this point. And so they have a tough matchup next week in Kansas City. So we'll see how that goes. And then Darren Fells, 2 for 2, 27 yards. A pretty weak day. But I think it's going to come down to Watson. He just likes, throwing the balls to Hopkins and Fuller and all that. He's not a really big tight end guys, because between Akins and Fells, they each got 2 targets each. So, that's pretty weak. It just seems like Watson doesn't like throw to the tight ends a lot. But they'll play Oakland next at home, so, possibility for a big day against a pretty weak defense. Then Auden Tate, wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals, against Jacksonville, caught 3 of 6 for 65 yards. That's a solid day for a wide receiver. Would have been nice if he tacked on a touchdown or maybe an extra 20 yards, but that's a pretty average day for a wide receiver. They'll go to L.A. to play the Rams next week, and he outgained Tyler Boyd on less targets. I have that in my notes, so that's nice. Looks like he's making the most of minimum opportunities. So now to our new guys, as I just said, Zach Pascal. Again, 106 yards, 6 of 7, 2 receiving touchdowns, And they'll play. He's owned 1% per Yahoo leagues. And then as I said earlier, Paris Campbell got injured. He was the wide receiver too. Pascal stepped up to the plate, and he made his voice heard. They'll stay at home, and they'll play Denver next week, so maybe he'll have another big game. And then Ryan Tannehill. Who would have thought? Who would have thought he'd have a big day? 23 completions, 312 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was picked and sacked. He's actually sacked twice. 7 rushing yards. He did have 2 fumbles, but none of them were lost. But that's a pretty solid day, pretty average day. At this point, I think he's unpredictable. We haven't seen enough of him yet to know what his worth. I'm interested to see how far they stick with him. Interested to see the future of Mariota. I don't know what's going to happen there. It's kind of interesting. They'll play Tampa Bay in Tennessee next week. So then, not really our Hail Mary guy of the week, but Kenny Stills got 405 balls, 105 receiving yards, and he caught 2 balls that were 40-plus receptions, 40-plus yards receptions. So the key here, Fuller got hurt, and Stills did not play since week 4, so people, I guess, kind of forgot about him, that he was injured, and that Fuller injury kind of opened it up for him, and he showed out 100-plus yards. It's a solid day from a wide receiver. So he might be hanging around on the waiver wire, 16% owned per Yahoo Fantasy Football. So I don't know, maybe we'll see some more production out of him.
Good stuff. Kenny Stills. And no Fuller. Somebody's got to be there.
It wouldn't be a fantasy season if Kenny Stills' name didn't come up, right?
Well, hey, you know what? Tannehill, you have to say, that's a better statistical day than Mariota had all year.
Yeah.
So,
all right. I mean, who else are we looking at here on waivers, JR? Again, another rough week. Slim pickings.
I might be tempted to plug in Matt Moore if you're a Mahomes owner. Probably not unless you are a Mahomes owner and you can't do anything better than that, but it's not exciting, is it? My exciting pickup of the week is just from a volume standpoint is Ty Johnson. With Kerryon Johnson being down, pick up the other Johnson. Somebody's got to run the rock in Detroit. Chase Edmonds, of course, is probably already gone in most leagues, but if he's not, you got to go for him. And lurking to come back, but who knows what role, if any, he will have, is Kareem Hunt. I can't see him usurping Nick Chubb, but it's something to think about. Who knows? Maybe with the trade deadline looming, somebody will trade for him. I have no idea. Other than that, it's about all I can think of for waivers this week.
Jamal Williams is still out there. Pick him up. Like Jack talked about, Green Bay seems to go with the hot hand. But Jamal Williams, if you're in a PPR league, he's worth looking at. He said if Eric Ebron's out there and you, like, he said if tight end's a disaster this year all around, right? So if you're in that spot, he's someone you can look at. It's kind of going through. Yeah, no real spectacular waiver claims in for me this week or anybody who I'm really lusting after. Like JR said, Matt Moore if you're a Mahomes guy, Matt Schaub if you're a Ryan guy. But I mean, you got to be.
Can't do it.
But this is why we tell you to draft backups, kids. We tell you at the beginning of the season, like, make sure you got another quarterback because you never know.
Yeah, so just wanted to touch on some of the trades that have occurred. We mentioned Emmanuel Sanders shipped off to San Francisco. Not sure if that's going to help his production. It can't hurt it. So maybe a slight uptick for him, maybe somebody to look at, or at least get off your bench. And what were the other trades? You got Mohamed Sanu going to the Patriots. But again, you got Edelman up there, James White, but he might be available. if you're desperate for a receiver. Any other trades? I heard a few on the radio today. There's the only two that come to mind, though. A lot of them are defensive players, not really fantasy implications. That's about it.
Yeah, anything offensively, that's really all that's gone down. There's been, the Lions got rid of a safety. But
start your Steelers, Rams, and Vikings, as those three teams either play Miami, Cincinnati, or Washington this week.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, it's a good formula for success.
It's a good call.
I can't wait for the blowout on Monday Night Football of the Dolphins and the Steelers. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, man. I don't know where the schedule makers come up with some of these matchups, but we, the fans, suffer. Steelers against the Dolphins. Pick up that D. I still like that Colts D.
Yeah.
Sporgy. ChristopherMedia.net.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the name your price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The name your price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Reinvent yourself at UCLA Extension. Explore continuing education programs to enhance and expand your skill set. Gain real-world skills taught by industry experts that you can apply immediately. Learn from anywhere and choose from a wide variety of online courses in entertainment, digital technology, business, engineering, and more. Winter quarter begins January 4th. Learn more at uclaextension.edu.
Wendy's Baconator is the ultimate bacon cheeseburger that puts all other cheeseburgers to cheeseburger shame. And now we're bringing that same big bacon energy to shake up and wake up your breakfast with the Breakfast Baconator. Stacked with the fresh cracked egg, sausage, cheese, and bacon. And right now, you can get a free Breakfast Baconator with purchase in the Wendy's app. So get to Wendy's and always be baconating. We got you.
Offer available at participating U.S. Wendy's for a limited time during breakfast hours only. Offer must be redeemed via the app. Account registration required.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Sporgy.
So I guess let's we want to run through this week's games and call it a day.
Yep. What do we got?
Thursday night's first one. Yeah, start your Vikings, because Thursday night it is Vikings and the Redskins. And oh man, I expect Dalvin Cook to have a day in this one.
And what about Cousins against his old mates from Washington?
It's true. Josh Norman's injured, so I mean,
start your Vikings.
This could be ugly. I mean, if you own any part of, Thielen's making noises about playing too.
Why?
It's just true.
Rest up. Let Diggs have all the balls this week. Good week to be a Diggs owner, but that should be a pretty. We could probably be switching the channel by halftime in that one, I think.
That's Vegas's biggest projected blowout of the week. The Vikings are favored -16.
Wow. 32-point spread, kids. Woo! Bet the under. All right. I'm going to let you, apparently I only get 1 week of RotoWire because I don't pay for it. So I'm going to let you steer the games in the order there, JR.
Hang on, I'm trying to find it myself, and I'm a paying subscriber.
I have them all written down. If you need me to say them, then you guys.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do? You put your games out.
Do you want the spread or just the game?
Either one. You can put the spread on the.
I'll just say the game. All right, next up,
or gambling
Cincinnati at LA Rams. LA Rams -12.5.
Ouch! Start your Rams.
Yeah, all Rams. Even the kicker. If you start the water boy, start them.
You can even start Jared Goff this week.
Yeah, believe it or not.
You can start Gurley. You can start Cooper Kupp. Start Gerald Everett. And on the other side of the ball, I don't know. You'd have to be pretty sad shape to start Andy Dalton, but I expect the Bengals to be playing from behind, so there would be some garbage time passing activity.
You're starting Joe Mixon in desperation, meaning you have no one else available.
Yeah, that's agonizing. Let's move to the next game.
All right. New York Giants at the Detroit Lions. Detroit favored -7.
I think this is just with the doctor ordered for the Lions. The Giants aren't going to make
You would
anybody
think so.
scare anybody. But there's always that Saquon Barkley factor.
I said the Lions can't stop the run. Start Saquon.
You know, and keep an eye on Golden Tate too, especially playing against his old Lions buddies. He might surprise. Anybody else?
Hopefully Galladay bounces back.
Marvin Jones.
I would expect Marvin Jones, just the law of averages to kick in, and Marvin Jones to maybe have a quiet game. He just had was it like the first line to do it in how many years? Like decades. So, I could see. But
you know that some people who had him on the bench are like, oh, I got to have him in this week. The Giants suck.
Yeah, and I don't know how high I am on Ty Jones or Ty Johnson or whatever his name is.
But you know what? If you can start Joe Mixon, you can start Ty Johnson because, like you said, it's volume. He's the number one guy now.
Fair point.
So, hey, I've got a team that's really thin at running back. I'm going to put in for him. Somebody's got to carry the rock there. I'm desperate. Yeah. I'd rather have him than Frank Gore starting.
Also, McKissick, he had 61 yards as well last week.
I believe he's the third down back, but doesn't mean he can't be more productive.
The new Theo Riddick?
Let's hope he's better than Theo. But Theo had a few nice games in his career.
He was good for PPR.
Yep.
They should have re-signed Blunt. Kind of blew it there.
Yeah, but it was more fun when we could call him Philly Blunt.
I see what you did there. All right, next game, Jack.
All right, moving on. Los Angeles Chargers head to Chicago and play the Bears. Bears favored -4.5.
Take the under.
Man, one team with actually, the same team. But Los Angeles with an offense that is underwhelming and a defense that is underwhelming this year.
But at least you got Phillip Rivers in Los Angeles. You got Trubisky in Chicago.
Yeah, and you're starting Keenan Allen. You're starting Melvin Gordon. Austin Eckler's a good third. If you're in a PPR league, Austin Eckler's a guy that you're considering for a flex. On the Chicago side of the ball, yikes.
Allen Robinson.
Yeah.
That's it. Allen Robinson. That's it. That's all there is.
Yeah, and the other Bear is a desperation play at this point.
But the Bears' defense would be a good start. And probably the Chargers' defense, too. All right, next game.
All right, Seattle at Atlanta. And Atlanta home dogs, -3.5 are the Seahawks.
No Matty Ice. I don't know. That Schaub, that just scares me.
That defense, start all your Seahawks.
Oh, yeah. DK Metcalf, if he's been on your bench all season, this is the week. Put him in, start him with confidence. Tyler Lockett must start. Chris Carson, maybe even Rashad Penny.
Yeah.
And Russell Wilson is a lock, as he always is.
And on the other side of the ball, without Matt Ryan,
you got to start Julio.
Yikes again. But yeah, Julio, Austin Hooper this year because he's the best tight end in fantasy.
Maybe Calvin Ridley, maybe. Because with no Sanu, there's nobody left. Calvin Ridley. I have Calvin Ridley, and I'm thinking I'm not starting him this week. Not with Matt Shaw.
Yeah, with no Matt Ryan, that Falcons offense is oof.
And Devontae Freeman has been invisible all year anyway, but maybe they'll lean on him more. So maybe you throw a dart at that. But that's exactly what you'll be doing if you're starting any Falcons, throwing darts. And I think that we can all throw darts better than Matt Schaub can.
Oh.
Damn.
Matt Schaub's a dinosaur, man. He's almost as old as I am.
Moving on. Broncos head to Indy to play the Colts. Colts favored -6.
Start your Colts.
Yeah, there's Philip Lindsay and Royce Freeman, like end of list. Cortland Sutton in deeper leagues, although volume now favors him, but still, I mean, any Denver Bronco this year is not really in set it and forget it territory, let's be honest. And yeah, start everybody else. It's playing the Broncos.
Marlon Mack, T.Y. Hilton, maybe Jacoby Brissett. Although the Broncos have a decent defense. But I like, everybody gave up on the Colts when Andrew Luck retired and the sky was falling. They're quietly a pretty solid team right now.
Yeah, I picked them to beat the Texans last week, and people thought I was insane. And no, man, they were minus Andrew Luck. That's the same team that went to the playoffs last year. So moving on, what do we got next, Jack?
Yep. Got the Jets going to Jacksonville to play Minshew Mania.
Oh.
Jacksonville is favored minus 4.5.
I hope the World Series is on at the same time as that game. That just does not sound like a very fun game to watch. But maybe it's a day game, so Darnold won't be seeing ghosts this week.
You're starting Fournette. You're starting Chark. Who else? That's it on the Jacksonville side of the ball, right? Maybe Gardner Minshew.
Hey, you know what? Prior to this week, I actually picked up the Jets defense because they're playing some pretty weak opponents, and they had been one of the top performing defenses in fantasy. But man, maybe it was just because the Patriots, or it was at night, or man, they sure looked like crap against the Patriots. But I expect them to play a lot better against Jacksonville. That offense isn't really 100% clicking. It's better than I think we thought it would be. So that might actually be a competitive game, as ugly as I think it's been. I just can't get the taste out of my mouth of watching that New England route. Just Jets. Ooh. Jets. Just end the season. All right.
Now we got the battle of mediocre teams. We got the Buccaneers at Tennessee. Tennessee favored minus 2.5.
Which Rich Jameis Winston will show up? That's the question.
5 picks and 4 touchdowns.
Hopefully, regular Chris Godwin shows up. Gonna need him.
Yeah, it'll be nice to have back in lineups this week. He was sorely missed by lots of us, but I like him. Evans is always solid. You know, the Bucs are going to chuck it up. They're going to be the chuck and duck, but you might want to think about that Titans defense because Jameis is very
iffy,
very generous with those turnovers.
You know, guys, I will tell you, I have found a use for the Tampa Bay backfield, kids. Bye weeks. If you got somebody on a bye week,
Jones, Peyton Barber.
You got people on bye weeks, and you need guys who are going to at least get the ball volume-wise. Ronald Jones and Peyton Barber served me well on some bye week fill-ins, but that's about all that backfield's good for.
You're not going to get 20 or 30 points, but if you're lucky, they might get you a touchdown and get you into double digits. Could do worse.
Yeah. And then the other side of the ball, we talked about it.
Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry. That's it.
The end. Delaney Walker, no more.
There's rumors that it seems like Tannehill and likes Corey Davis. We might be saying his name in a few weeks down the road, but not this week.
Next up, Arizona Cardinals heading to the Superdome to play the Saints.
Ooh.
Saints favored 9.5, minus 9.5.
Yeah, we already talked about the Saints just keep marching on. You know, injuries notwithstanding. What does anybody know Kamara's outlook for this week? Is he coming back?
That wouldn't matter against Arizona.
Cold.
No, but I have Latavius Murray in a couple. I think he could probably start Latavius Murray even if Kamara comes back because I don't think he'll be needed. And I'm sure that they'll probably scale his workload back if he does come back. I don't think they're going to use him as a workhorse. So you could probably start both of those running backs. You can the Arizona's strength is on the offense. Their defense is somewhat of a liability in certain areas. I think they're slightly better against the run. They're secondary suspect.
I will caution people with Arizona. We have talked lots of good things about Chase Edmonds, but I will caution you if David Johnson's healthy, he's back to a non-factor.
Yeah, I don't know about that. A lot of people in these parts are excited. without Edmonds, that's going to be a interesting situation to watch. But if you got Edmonds, you'd probably start him against the Saints. But the Saints have a pretty good D. I wouldn't start anybody other than Kyler Murray and either David Johnson or Chase Edmonds, depending on what the injury status is the day of the game. So check the actives, inactives, and stay up on your news for that one. But I think the Saints will run away with that in the Dome, especially.
Okay, we'll move on to Vegas's tightest projected game of the week. Philadelphia Eagles in Buffalo. Buffalo's favored -1.5.
Take the under.
Wow.
Take the under. I don't know if Philadelphia should be favored in any game after watching that performance in Dallas, but you have to think that they have some pride after the butt kicking they took from Dallas, that maybe they'll be fired up. But Buffalo's a tough place to play, and that's a tough defense to get back on track with. So I don't know, man. I've got Wentz in a few leagues, and I'm going to be looking at other options against that Bills defense. There's not much I want to start in that game for either side, except
I was just going to say that fantasy-wise,
it's not a good fantasy game.
Yeah, you want really nobody. There's nobody
Buffalo
playing.
I generally don't miss Eagles games, but if this one starts out ugly, I might just go right to the Red Zone channel. It just seems like it's going to be a tough game to watch.
Maybe
the kickers. Maybe it'll be a field goal fest.
See, the only fantasy player I am really thinking of even starting of this game would maybe be the Buffalo defense.
Well, that's pretty much every week you should be considering them. They have a stellar defense. The Eagles, on the other hand, have big trouble in the secondary.
Yeah, this is not 2017.
Fortunately, I don't think John Brown might stretch that defense for a touchdown. So everybody else seems to. Maybe
now about your field goal fest, I was bored, so I just checked the weather on Sunday in Buffalo. It is going to be a rainy day up until about game time. So
another quagmire fest. Well, let's move on from that game because I don't think there's much interest in fantasy players.
All right, well, then we'll head over to San Francisco, where the Carolina Panthers will visit Jimmy G and the Niners. San Francisco, only favored -5.5. Kind of surprised.
Finally, a game that actually seems exciting.
Yeah.
And am I the only one that thinks that maybe the Panthers are better without Cam Newton?
I'm starting to think that.
Should trade him.
I even heard rumors. I heard somebody say that a great trade would be to trade Newton to the Bears.
Bears could use a quarterback, and the Panthers are undefeated without Cam Newton. I
think that Newton's snazzy outfits would go over well in Chicago.
This is going to be a fun game to watch. It's going to be a defensive battle.
Yeah, but you know what? That Eagles-Bills game will be a defensive battle, but I'm not excited to watch that. I'm excited about this Carolina Niners game.
But this one, you're starting CMC.
You're starting a lot of running backs in this game.
Yeah.
Probably looking at a lot more running than passing. Maybe DJ Moore. I'm still not sold on Curtis Samuels. He's hit or miss every week. Not sure if there's any. I guess Kittle's an obvious start. Emmanuel Sanders probably not ready to do much till he settles in to San Francisco. So yeah, I expect a lot of running on both teams.
I'm not saying Matt Breida is a locked in RB1. Set it and forget it. But if you're starting him, I'm not mad at you.
Don't forget Tevin Coleman too.
Yeah,
especially in PPR.
All right,
so that's finally a decent game though. That's encouraging. That is watchable.
And the San Francisco defense, I mean, they continue to be double-digit points every week. If they're still on your waiver wire, grab them.
All right, moving on. I don't know why, but for some reason I just have a gut feeling that something special is going to happen when the Browns go to New England, play Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. New England is favored -10.5, and I don't know why, but I I just feel like the Browns are going to somehow pull it out. I don't know why.
I don't know why either, because I don't see it happening. After what I saw,
New England's at home.
Did to the Jets. But every week, I think people think, oh, maybe this is the week that the New England will slip up, and every week they just look like world beaters.
Baker's pile of garbage.
I think it's another great week to have the New England defense against Baker Mayfield, who I've already cut in one league. I've had it done. OBJ might have a day because they'll probably be behind and throwing. Nick Chubb, you always have to start Nick Chubb. He's a plug and play. I don't know who else. I don't know if you start any other Brownies. And then, it's the same thing with the New England. It's a crapshoot. You got to start Michelle. James White's probably worth a play if you need a flex player or a PPR running back. Edelman is probably the most solid of the receivers. I don't know that Sanu's going to come in right away and help, but who knows?
This might be a good game for Jarvis Landry because they may have Stephon Gilmore on OBJ.
Good point.
How do we think Sanu will fare in his first game?
I think it's too soon, but you never know.
I think his role. I think he's Josh Gordon 2.0. I think that signing Sanu says everything we need to know about Josh Gordon's injury.
Yeah, well, he was always a walking on eggshells kind of guy.
Mm-hmm. Though this year, an actual injury took him out, not himself.
But should the Browns make a game of it, we'll compliment you next week, Jack. But I don't see it.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I don't know why. I just got a feeling. It's like really stupid. I can't even provide a reason. I just got a feeling.
Hey, sometimes it's all it takes, right? A gut feeling.
Gut feeling. Well, moving on. Got the Black Hole heading to Houston. The Oakland Raiders and the Houston Texans. Houston -6.5.
This should be a fun game to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Raiders are actually impressing me somewhat this year, although I think until they get rid of Derek Carr, they're just going to be who they are. Their ceiling is not high with him. But Tyrell Williams, Waller must start. Josh Jacobs must start.
Yep.
About it, I think, for the Raiders.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you got the Deshaun Watson.
D-Hop.
D-Hop's must start.
On the running backs. Oh,
Duke Johnson can't do it.
We can't. I can't tell you in good faith to start Carlos Hyde. It's not 2013.
If you got to buy and you're desperate, that's about it. But the Raiders aren't exactly a huge rushing defense, so that'll be a good competitive game. It'll be a fun one to watch.
Yeah.
Moving on. Go Pack Go heads to Arrowhead on Sunday Night Football, and surprisingly, the Chiefs are home dog. Well, actually, now that I think about it, Mahomes is out, but the Chiefs are home dogs. Green Bay -4.5.
Yeah, I'm sure as a Lions fan, you got to be like, those damn Packers, they get to play the Chiefs with no Mahomes. Doesn't seem fair, does it? This would have been like one of the marquee games of the year if Mahomes was healthy.
Yeah, I'm sure when they made the schedule,
Aaron Rodgers.
They had a lot more in mind when they scheduled this than what's going to happen.
Instead, we get to watch Matt Moore and that putrid mix of three-headed monster that is just not worth owning. Maybe McCoy. Damian Williams is now dead to me as far as fantasy.
Wow, are we now in a spot where the only Chief worth owning is Travis Kelce?
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, that's true. I'm still getting used to him being back. He's only been back for 2 weeks.
We don't know what he'll do with Matt Moore, but I'd start Tyreek Hill though. I'd start him.
I would as well.
And then the Packers, what do you do there? You got, which running back's going to be hot? You play one, and the other one might be the one.
Devontae Adams is healthy. You start him. You start Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I don't know. Jimmy Graham, maybe, if you're desperate. Your regular tight end's on a bye. You could do worse.
Yeah.
Graham disappears for games, and then he'll show up and get 80 yards and a touchdown the next game. So
He's like Carlos Hyde. I cannot sit here and recommend to start him.
No, he's burned me enough.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had him on one roster and already dropped him this year, and I was like considering picking him back up. I'm like, no, I can't do it.
Allison or Valdez Scantling? Maybe? No? Fringe?
Fringe, yeah. Fringe flex.
Desperado status there.
Yeah.
And moving on. Oh, no. The World Series better be on for this one. Miami Dolphins visit the Yinzer Mob. So that's going to get ugly pretty quickly.
Like the late 80s, this is a great game, right? Miami and Pittsburgh.
You know what?
14.5 for the Steelers.
I can finally start Juju Smith-Schuster with confidence. It hasn't been very often that I could say that this year.
Yeah, you're starting James Conner. Oh, Vance McDonald. Is he worth even... I still have him on the team. Is he still even worth having?
I think only is your second option if you have a tight end on a bye or somebody's hurt. But, hey, Miami's the gift that keeps on giving, although they do seem to coming around a little bit.
But no one on Miami worth owning or starting, and I think we've run down the Pittsburgh starters.
Yep. So tough season for the Steelers, but Monday night they should have something to cheer about.
Yeah.
But we'll be cheering for the World Series. Hopefully it's on that night. But
yeah, and it's here we are, everybody. We are halfway through the fantasy season. Wait so long for it, and then it comes, and it goes by so quickly. But it's hopefully I'm in decent shape. Like I said, all my teams, playoffs are still a reality for everybody. Nobody is out of it. Hopefully, the same for you. The fantasy hacks, I'm coming for you. I'm clawing back. We're to 3-4. It looks like I got a good matchup this week, but we'll see because you never know. The last couple of weeks have shown you that this is why we do it. It's been a crazy last couple of weeks. Make sure we are on Twitter at the Fantasy Hack. JR and I are on there Sunday mornings. Shoot questions at us. So if you just want to, mess around, talk football, whatever, we are there. Make sure also you're checking out @SportsG Podcast on Twitter. That show comes out on Thursdays with me, Rich, and the Iceman. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, the iHeartRadio app, Spreaker, Stitcher, ChristopherMedia.net. Wherever you listen to podcasts, we are there. Check us out every Wednesday. We thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Adios, amigos.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
If you look around, you'll see the world can be pretty smart. Okay, very smart. At Capella University, we think education should be smart too. That's why we're reshaping online learning with our FlexPath format. You can set your own deadlines, take classes at your own pace, even leverage your previous experience to move faster. So when it comes to earning your bachelor's degree, you know what kind of choice to make. A smart one. Visit capella.edu to learn more. Capella University. Don't just learn smarter.
Es fácil encontrar pisos en línea, pero imaginar esos pisos en su piso, un poco más complicado. De manera que LL Flooring creó Picture It, una herramienta en línea que agrega nuestros pisos a una foto de su espacio. No tiene más que apuntar, disparar y elegir un piso. Pruebe Picture It para encontrar su piso hoy mismo, exclusivamente en llflooring.com. Sobre estos pisos se construyen hogares. LL Flooring. Visite llflooring.com hoy mismo para obtener muestras gratuitas de sus pisos favoritos.
ChristopherMedia.net.
If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for listening, and thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.